Hello, friendships. Hello, friendships. Let's schwamp, shall we? Shabam. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Oh, my goodness. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the stream. Guys, thank you for showing up here. This is sort of an impromptu stream, but I've been so excited that I want to hang out with you guys. So this is really cool. Are you guys excited for RESOLVECON? Oh my goodness. It is just around the corner, and I'm like, as you could probably see from my video this morning, I'm jacked out of my skull. Like, I'm so excited. It's just gonna be a big party with a bunch of nerds, and yeah, and with frizzy hair today apparently. You guys, how are you doing? First of all, before we get too deep into the nerd today, tell me, I care about you, okay? I want to know the very best thing that's happened to you recently, okay? Tell me something you're excited about. I don't care if it has to do with Resolve or anything else, okay? Tell me about it. Tell me what's up. For me, I went to my son's first soccer game last night, and I don't think I've ever been to a soccer game of any kind. I've never had kids in sports. I haven't done sports since I was a tyke. I don't go to sporting events pretty much ever. The last time I did was probably like 20 years ago. I went to a baseball game and it was boring and I didn't like it. Okay. And it was the coolest, man. I had such a good time. It was so awesome. And I'm really psyched for the next one, which happens to be tomorrow. Very exciting. Very exciting. So you installed Resolve 10 days ago. That's what I'm excited about. Well, this is great that you're here. This is great. Hello from the middle of Hurricane Ian. Oh, dang. Huh. What is RESOLVECON exactly? Well, I'll tell you. I'll just tell you. RESOLVECON is a 2-day live stream event, which we are holding here in Oregon. And we're going to be streaming with a live studio audience. And we're going to have a bunch of YouTubers who teach Resolve all the time. People who teach Resolve for Blackmagic. I mean, all kinds of super smart people, as well as myself, teaching on all aspects of Resolve. It's basically, if you want to learn Resolve, here's how to do it in 2 days, pretty much. Really, really cool. So that's what we're doing. We're streaming from about, there's the schedules on the website, but it's about, I think it's 9 a.m. Pacific time until 5 on Saturday, and then it's a little earlier. I think it's 8 to 4 on Sunday. All right? So cancel all your weekend plans and show up here on this channel because we're going to be doing RESOLVECON, baby. So if you've followed Mr. Alex Tech, if you follow Billy Ribka, if you follow The Modern Filmmaker, if you follow Patrick Sterling, Daria Fissoon, Cullen Kelly, Jay Lipman, Jake Whip, there's a bunch of people that are going to be here. Jason Yadlovsky, guys, it's going to be amazing. Darren Moston. These people are like the smartest people and the coolest people I have met. And I'm really, really excited to hang out with them. And I'm going to learn a ton. And I know you guys are going to learn a ton. It's going to be amazing. All right. Okay, cool. So, yeah, please feel free to post something you're excited about. I would love to hear about that. That would be awesome. Better to ask and risk appearing stupid than to continue in your ignorant way and make a stupid mistake. Absolutely true. Absolutely. Oh, man. Okay, so prizes. What prizes? Dude, we have so many prizes. Okay, for real. We have so many prizes. I don't even know what they are. I outlined them in the video. There's a ton of stuff from Blackmagic. There are a couple of software things. There are lights, if you guys like lighting, if you're into the production side of things. We have, we're doing a big sale for ground control. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be sweet. Okay. You have to go in 30 minutes because it's 11 p.m. here. Okay, don't worry. We're going to get to it here in a minute. But yeah, that's what's up. So there's more information at resolvecon.com. Make sure to go and RSVP. Laura Mirth is putting in the RSVP link. Please actually do that. Don't just show up. Actually do that, because we want to know, one, how many people are going to watch, and two, it enters you into our giveaways and stuff like that. Okay, so please do it. Okay. So here's what I want to do today. I'm prepping for my ResolveCon class, my ResolveCon session. And the first session of ResolveCon is basically like a, it's kind of like the basics to make sure that everybody's sort of on the same page of Resolve. Not the page of Resolve, but making sure that we all kind of have a base understanding of how Resolve works, okay? But as I'm prepping for it, it occurs to me that, one, I have a few videos that are like crash courses, and what I was kind of designing is a live crash course, which I know will be helpful, but I want it to be super helpful, okay? So what I really want to do is attack anything that's kind of in the way of you understanding how Resolve works. So that's why I'm kind of asking for dumb questions, where I'm going to take this stream and use it as research for the session on Saturday, the first session on Saturday. Okay. So we'll probably have time to go over a few things during this stream, but I'm mostly just wanting to hear the questions so that I can research them and make sure that I'm giving you the right answers on Saturday. Is that cool? Is everybody cool with that? Okay. Do I have to register for ResolveCon online? Yes, please do that. Please do that. You don't have to. You can show up and watch, but if you want to be part of the giveaways and you want to participate, it's best to register, please. That would be the best, okay? So here's what we're going to do. I want you guys to hit me with the dumb Resolve questions, and I'm going to write them down, and then hopefully we'll have some time to kind of just discuss them a little bit. But what I'm really looking for is I am trying to figure out where the disconnects are. I've asked this a couple times, but I specifically want to know, like, when you open up Resolve and you're like, yeah, I want to make something, like, what's in the way of that? What kind of things are confusing to you? Okay. So I'm going to write this down and we're going to kind of talk about it here. And again, I'm hoping that we'll have some time to kind of go over this stuff a little bit, but I mostly just want a big brain dump. Okay. So I'll switch to brain dump mode. Okay. So this is what I want, is a big brain dump of all the random stuff that doesn't seem to make sense. Okay. Here we go. Project settings for vertical editing. Okay. Let's do that. Let's make this smaller, something like that. When I try and use Magic Mask, I only see the blue lines. So how do I see the red selection? Okay. I'm just gonna put all this stuff down. Definitely watching ResolveCon. Hope Jamie Fenn will have a part because he's super talented. He is super talented. I haven't gotten to connect with him yet. Maybe next year. I don't know. There's so many awesome people, and we only have so much time. And so I just haven't even connected really with him. So I would love to do that. My DRFX files aren't working. What should I do? Okay. DRFX not working. What else? Where can I find your course? Groundcontrol.film. Groundcontrol.film. How do you make it so a fusion item can be stretched or shrunk with the keyframes? Oh, you mean like the timing? Okay. Okay. And if you see a question that you're like, yes, I've always been wondering that, tell me, okay? Because I want to know what the big problems are, right? Why, when I copy parts from one area and paste to another area, it pastes the audio in the third audio track? Okay. Audio track, copy, paste, probs. Okay. What else? Starting to learn motion design. What's the closest thing to a null object to move all layers? Okay. Yep, that's a good one. Okay. First time question. I hear the statement keyframe. What is a keyframe? How do I choose one? Oh, yeah. What is keyframe? What is keyframes? That works. Friend is going to switch from Premiere and annoyed by the cursor not stopping if he clicks in the timeline. Is there a solution to this? Oh, so like if you click, it stops in Premiere. Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of annoying. Now that you mention it, I was like, yeah, I actually have problems with that too. That's annoying. I don't know if there's a way to do that. I don't know. Okay. My question is about the color space transform. I use the 6K Pro and I feel like I can never get the correct options within the effect for the Kodak looks like poop. Oh, okay. I know why that is, Jesse. I know why that is. Okay. Let's say 6K to Kodak color probs. Okay. Is it possible to put different frames per second on one timeline? That's a quick one. Yes, it is, but it's only going to show the frames that are the frame rate of your timeline. Okay, so if you put like a 60 frame video in the timeline and it's like a 30 frame timeline, it's going to show every other frame, basically, right? Okay, what else we got? Okay, how to set up a template that imports your sound effects folders. Ooh, yes. I'm pretty sure that's a thing, but I'm not super familiar with how to do that. But I'm pretty sure you can do that now. Collage frames with multiple video and pictures, building an intro with this idea. What's the question? Like how to make that? Fishing? I've gone through color grading video tutorial after video tutorial. Your videos, along with others, including the Blackmagic ones. I have R5 connected to a Ninja V. I shoot C-Log 3 BT 2020 and use... Oh, I think you got cut off. Let me know what your question is, Thomas. How does Resolve handle Sony's XAVC codec? I am considering FX6, but was wondering if there's any Resolve workflow gotchas that need to be aware of. Not familiar with that codec. From what I haven't used it. I think you need Studio for it. I think. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong on that. I don't have a question, just want to say thank you. Thanks, UNet. That's awesome. We have powerful computers, but DaVinci's still laggy when we edit, not even using effects. Weird. What kind of footage are you working with, Little Elm? Total noob here, but very inspired by your videos. Have never edited anything, but feel like I've learned so much already. Okay, so Todd, specifically, because you're a noob, all right? I want you to tell me when you see this Resolve interface, what goes through your mind? Like, I want to be put in your headspace here, okay? Because I want to be able to explain things to noobs really well, okay? Any faster way to move audio video tracks up and down the timeline? Feels stupid to have to right click on each track and then choose move track up and down. Oh, yeah, like the actual track, move it. You can move them in the track list in the index. In the edit index. Let's see, is that, no, that's in Fairlight. In the index in Fairlight, you can move these around. So if we have like a bunch of tracks, you can move these around like this. See what I'm doing? That was just a quick one. Okay, let's just say tracks. Okay. How do you add markers where you can type text or notes? Easy on Vegas, but only color marker tabs in Resolve. Yeah. Okay. You basically just double click on it and you can, so like if I have a marker here, doing the edit page, if you double click on the marker, or you can hit M twice, that'll bring this up. So that works. Okay, making sure we can zoom in here. How do you smoothly reduce volume on an audio clip on different parts without using audio ducking? I actually have a video on that I just put out. It was like how to add music in Resolve 18, I think is what it's called. Yep. Okay. Man, there's a lot, guys. I'm trying to keep up here. We have slow mode on and I'm still trying to keep up. Okay. Why should I learn Davinci and not Premiere? Okay, let's go with that. Say Resolve versus other apps. Okay. Why do my transitions not work? I don't know. That's a big question. There could be a lot of reasons. Please add the files to your future tutorials so we can train. You can download footage and stuff with our paid courses. That's something we're pretty much keeping exclusive to our paid courses nowadays. So I know that's sad, but that's kind of a big thing. So it's a lot of work to make that stuff available. And there's like rights and things. Like I can use ArtGrid stuff, but I can't like distribute ArtGrid stuff. You know what I mean? So it's kind of problematic sometimes. Although for RESOLVECON, we will have files so you can follow along. That's a really cool thing, is we don't usually get that, but we're gonna have work files to follow along with almost all of the sessions. So very excited about that. Can you apply a LUT to a smart bin? Do you mean like a LUT to all of the clips in the smart bin, Orange Spill? Okay. Where an effects generated like a color gradient available to be adjusted in the color page. Yeah, it's just because it doesn't treat it as footage. It's more like a title, really. Okay. How to sync audio when it fails via waveform. Okay. Can you keyframe stuff on the color page? Yes, you can. The keyframe diamonds are like right where they normally are. Oh, okay. I know what you're saying. You have to do it a certain way. Basically, on the color page, you have to like set your keyframe diamonds here, and there's a track for each node. And if you twirl this down, it has like the different parts of the node. But what I do is I just click this, and then whatever you touch next is going to keyframe. And then you can turn that off when you're done setting keyframes, and it'll automatically keyframe like that. Okay. Can you change 60 frame footage to 30 frame footage without changing the speed of the footage? Yes, but you have to re-render it basically, or you have to just put it into a 30 frame timeline. Okay. I can't make the footage grade it the way it looks when you do it. Okay. So just why color grading so hard, yo? I'm not trying to make fun of anyone, by the way, here. If this comes off as condescending, it's just literally notes for me, because I'll remember what it means, and I'll remember it if I say it in a funny, weird way. It's just one of those things. How do we change the fast noise to Day River in Fusion? Can you only do it in the edit page? I don't know what that means. What is Day River? Okay. Can I save Fusion compositions as video overlays or GIFs to be used elsewhere? Like if I have repetitive text that I want to use in a lot of videos. Yeah, you can save them as a template, actually, King. It's actually really sweet the way that it works. Will YouTube streams be available? Yes, they will. Okay. One thing I've found is explaining what keystrokes or button presses you're doing helps. Yes. Okay. That's good. Is there anybody here who is like never edited video? Like you're just getting into it. You're like, I downloaded Resolve yesterday, man. Like, is there anybody here that's in that, like, that level of noob? You know, I say that in the nicest way. Like it's, you know what I mean? Everybody is welcome. Why it always takes so long until audio waves appear in the edit timeline? I know, right? I don't know. It's because it does a lot of, it takes a lot of work to display that. You know, you have to, it's like looking at thousands and thousands of data points and then plotting them on a graph, you know, which computers are good at that, but like, that's a lot. It's a lot of work. So I don't know. How can I make a stinger transition for OBS that's like built into an intro? Yeah, you can do that in Fusion. That's a whole thing. But yeah, so I think, yeah, transitions. Okay. Can mouse button scroll wheel inputs be customized similar to the keyboard customization? No. Nope. Is it worth to buy premium Resolve? Yes, absolutely. Yep. 100% worth it. Thomas says, I've tried LUTs, color science, the ways you've shown. I've tried ACES front and back end, and I never looks right. Okay, so when you say it doesn't look right, Thomas, tell me why. Like, what is wrong with it? Okay. I've edited on Premiere years ago, very new to Resolve. Okay. Cool. Okay, so there are people who are brand new. Okay, so especially people who are brand new, who are planning on like watching ResolveCon, and you open up the interface and you're like, okay, now what? I want to hear from you, especially. Okay, or if you're 2 months into it and you're still that place, that's no problem. How can you hear the timeline audio in Fusion? You should be able to hear it. I'm pretty sure when you play it back, you should be able to hear it. Yeah. Is Darren Moston as cool in real life as he is on YouTube? He's actually cooler in real life. Yeah. I hate his YouTube, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, that dude's great. Download it in April, still have much to learn. How are After Effects expressions similar or different from how Fusion uses it? It's very similar, actually. You can do a lot of the same stuff. A lot of the same stuff. What is ResolveCon? ResolveCon is a live event that we are doing this Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be all day, Saturday and Sunday, and we're going to have all kinds of amazing guests, other YouTubers, other people who know a ton about Resolve, other Resolve nerds, to come and hang out and be part of this. They're going to teach some exclusive classes. It's going to be like a 1 hour class, and you can follow along. You can download footage. It's going to be sick. Like, it's going to be the Resolve learning event of the year. That's what we're shooting for here. Okay. It's going to be the dopeness. What computer do you have? So how much RAM, CPU? So, my computer is a, let me just write this down. It's like a mid-range gaming PC. It has, I think it's like 64 gigs of RAM. It has, 1070 Ti graphics card. Yep. It's like a, let me just bring it up here. Let me just bring it up. Now I'm going to look like an idiot because I don't remember how to do that. It's in control panel though, right? I don't remember. I'll have to get back to you on that. I think we have a thing about it. I don't remember. Sorry. I'm set to 8K downsample to 4K. Find C-Log BT 2020. Oh, okay. So you're doing like HDR stuff? Can we fix subtitles in Davinci Resolve like sync issues? I believe so. I haven't done a whole lot of subtitle stuff. Okay. Basics of 3D camera in Fusion. Ooh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Most of the color tutorial are with log footage and good lighting scene setup. Can we maybe see a tutorial on how to grade an 8-bit footage, not perfect lighting? Yes. Yes. That would be good. Okay. I've made one edit in Resolve. Okay. So let's get this. I can check PC specs and task manager. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Where is it? I forget how to do stuff. I'm sorry. This is like where you guys are going to be like, dude, he's such a noob. How does this even happen? Anyways. So yeah, I have 128 gigs of RAM. I have GeForce 3070. So I was way off. I have an SSD. I have a Ryzen 9 5950X 16-core processor. So, yeah. I mean, it's a well-spec'd computer. It's a good computer. But it's not like $1 million computer. Does that make sense? Never chatted with someone on live like this. Hey, that's cool. That's cool. Fusion is the one page I try to avoid. Okay. What is in the way there? H76, why do you avoid Fusion? Tell me about it. Okay. All right, let's switch this over. If you don't select your pre-trimmed timeline clips before making a new Fusion clip and want to add further video clips to the node tree, how do you get the timing right? It's tricky. It's tricky is the short answer. It's not laid out super great. And that's because it's not really for that. Like, it's not that they built it wrong. It's just it's not the tool for that, you know? Timing in Fusion is a little rough. My second year of high school, wondering if editor will be a viable job route in a couple years. Sorry, I know this is not a resolved question. Absolutely will be. Yep. I see no indication that that's not going to be a thing. It will be probably more competitive. And it'll be more like you're going to have to know a bunch of different stuff rather than just how to edit. Like, if you are an editor and you also know how to composite and you also know a lot about color, you're going to have an edge getting a job over somebody who like just knows how to edit. Does that make sense? Okay. I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, guys. This is a thing. Can I automate an audio mix in DaVinci Resolve? Let's say I'm mixing a video with faders. I want Resolve to save the changes. Yeah, you can do that. Yep. You feel it's too complicated. It can be complicated. Fusion can be complicated for sure. My brain works in layers like After Effects. I have a hard time wrapping my head around how nodes flow in Fusion. Okay. What's a good starting point in the Fusion tab? I barely scratched the surface using Fusion. Yes. I avoid Fusion because it's a time rabbit hole that I once started going down and it'll be a huge hole. This is exactly. Man. Your question was dumb. John, I had missed it. I'm trying to keep up, guys. There's a lot. We might even have to increase slow mode here just because it takes a while to answer each question. If we have 8-bit non-log footage, should we use wide gamut or ACEs? You could use either, but you'd have to convert to it. What can I do to stop my video image looping glitch during playback? I'm not sure what you mean by that. How to effectively manage project database when moving between machines, laptop for traveling and desktop. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll write that down because there's a lot of this stuff that's like such a big question that I'll have to go over it later. Other big categories of things, guys. So like, I know there's a lot of specific questions, but big categories that like, you're just like, dude, I don't even understand the basics of this big section of video editing or this big section of how Resolve works, right? That's kind of what I want to know. All right. Can you explain composite, like compositing? What compositing is? Yeah, we can talk about that. Great. Bins. Okay, so these are going to be like the big categories. So I want big categories. That's what I think I'm looking for. Sorry to be not super clear at the beginning. I'm wanting like really big categories, big concepts that you're like still fuzzy on. Fuzzy concepts, okay? How can I keep it classy when there are so many cool things in Fusion? Ooh, yes. That's a big thing. Okay, frame rates. I think that's a thing. Oh boy. Hello. This is my very first day. Okay. I think color management. That's a big one. Different composite modes in the merge. Okay. Yep. That's good. Fusion. All right. Multi-track record in Resolve. I've heard it's possible, but I don't know how to do it. Yeah. There's in Fairlight, you can, I believe you can set it to have different inputs, although I'm not 100% sure on that. But you have to do that in like your bus routing and stuff, or your Yeah, I think it's your bus routing. That's what it's called. Expressions, best way to learn them. Yeah. How to pro saturation. Okay. My video will play normal for a while and the video's image will stop and loop back to the same frame over and over again, though the audio plays. My guess with that, Rusty, is that it's a cache issue. So if you delete your cache, go up to playback and say delete cache, probably gonna fix it. Settings for your first project. Great idea. Nodes still confuse me coming from Premiere. Okay. Nodes, yep. Okay. How to work with masks and layers. Okay. Do you mean masks in nodes, or like what do you mean by that? Do you mean like masks in Fusion? Best hardware for Resolve. Okay. Detailed guide with demonstration on how to switch from After Effects to Fusion would be cool with motion graphics. Yes. For any of you who are super into like wanting to learn motion graphics, we have a couple sessions in RESOLVECON that are going to be amazing for you. You're going to love it. We're going to have Mr. Alex Tech, I believe, is talking a little bit about that, and Patrick is doing a whole session on like making templates and stuff. Oh, so good. So good. I'm going to be doing some visual effects stuff, which I'm really excited about. I've been diving super deep into visual effects lately. Oh, so much fun. What kind of videos are you focused on making, or are you just trying to show us how to use Davinci? Yes. All of those? I rarely touch it when I've used Adobe. I use audio effects in Premiere a lot. So yeah, Cameron, we're going to have 2 very cool Fairlight sessions at RESOLVECON this weekend. Very excited. How to calibrate my screen. Yep. Screen calibration, color. Best hardware for Fusion. My mouse doesn't seem to let me move around the viewer as much as should be possible. That's weird. How to properly move project database when switching between machines. Yeah, so like I have database stuff, I think. Okay, we're gonna do this for a couple more minutes and then we'll get into some specific questions, guys, because I know some of you are showing up here wanting like, dude, is he gonna answer anything? Is he gonna do anything? Yeah, we'll try. We'll try and do a little bit. Okay. Multicam. Ooh, yeah. What do the templates for Fusion seem unorganized and confusing? I don't know. Never even needed the full 32 gigabytes. Okay. I don't have any videos to edit as a beginner. Please help me from where I can get some videos. Okay. Yes. Okay. I think we got some good things here. Any other big concepts that you're just like, dude, I feel like everybody knows how to do this and I feel dumb for asking, but how does this big concept work? Let me know. How to fix UI high DPI scaling in Windows? Yes. Yes. That is, I think I have a video on that. Maybe it's not out yet. I have a video recorded on that if it's not out. Pretty soon. After Effects is far better than Fusion. Explain how. Please explain. I'm not trying to mock you. I literally just, I want to know why you think that. Because, yeah, I'd love to know why you think that. Because I'm wondering if maybe there's things that Fusion can do that you don't know. Maybe there's things that After Effects does that I'm totally ignoring. One of us is going to learn. Probably both of us. Compression and delivery, yes. Okay, so like render settings. Do I have that? I don't think so. Let's. Okay, yeah, I'm putting those under like color management tools. Will RESOLVECON be available to replay? Yes. Editing workflows, great. Okay, workflow. Stabilization in Fusion. Yeah, okay, so that's Fusion stuff. Export settings. Watch several videos about the cut page. Still don't see the point versus the edit page. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. New proxies are optimized. Basically, proxies is the short answer. They had optimized media, back before they had a good proxy workflow, I don't see any point in doing optimized media nowadays. I would do proxies. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think so. I guess I could see if you're wanting to use optimized media and have it be really high quality, and you want to actually use that for your render, possibly. But most of the time, I would say proxies. Probably 2-bit specific, but channel booleans and the various channels blows my mind. Yeah, William, I know what you mean. I've been diving super deep into that. I understand it more than I did, but it's still like whack-bat sometimes. It's still crazy. So I've done over 500 videos on my drone review channel for the free version. Is the full version worth the upgrade or just spend it on camera gear? I would get it just because it uses your hardware a little more, has really good noise reduction. Those are kind of the big things. There's a couple different like OpenFX plugins that are really nice. But for the most part, you can do 90% of what you want to do in the free version. There's no reason not to use the free version, but the studio version is quite good. Optimized media is being grandfathered out. Yeah, I kind of think that's a thing. Yeah. Please answer me, bro. How to get some videos to edit? I'm really struggling with this part. Hey, it's okay. We'll talk about that in a minute here. Okay. Okay. Which features are exclusive to Studio? So many people ask if they should purchase. I always tell them to get the free one until they find something they can't do. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great way to go. Yep. I'm just not as friendly with Fusion as I am with AE. Okay. Then that doesn't mean that it's better though. That just means that you're familiar with it. Why is it when I color grade, my footage becomes like I shot it in the 1900s? What does that mean? If you registered, you have to watch live to win giveaways. How are we notified if we do win something? We will have details when the event starts. I'm not super clear on those details. There are other people working on that. But we'll have mods in the chat and they can tell you all of that stuff. I believe you have to be present to win and you have to be registered. But they will let you know for sure. Is editing a skill or a talent? I would say it is closer to a skill. I think there's natural talent in the world, but I think it's like 75% skill and 25% talent a lot of the time. Like you can have talents that make you better at something, but you're still not going to get to a massive level without putting in the work. Does that make sense? And people who are not talented at something, if they put in the work, can do amazing things. Does that make sense? And I mean, that's probably not true for like every single thing in the world, but I think that's true with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Okay. Can I capture a video off a old high 8 camcorder into Resolve Pro? You can, but you have to have a capture card. I've been wondering about this. I know you mentioned it in a previous video, but JKL keys, how to set them up and how does it help compared to Control B and cut? Okay. Okay, you're talking about just like moving back and forth with the JKL keys like this? Oops, sorry. Bloop. Okay, so like hitting J and L moves it back and forth like this, and K is pause. There's not really anything to set up. That's just what they do. Skill because there's a lot of stuff to learn. Yes. Okay, proxies. Let's get into some specific questions here. Guys, we are not going to have time to do everybody's question. I am noting things, and I'm going to be building a lot of this stuff into my presentation on Saturday, so please come hang out with that. I'm going to randomly and imperfectly answer some questions that I think I can answer quickly. Okay, that's what I'm promising to you. That if you put your question in, it's not because I hate you that I'm ignoring you. It's just either we don't have time to do it or I didn't see it. Okay? Okay. What are proxies? Okay, so let's start with this. Proxies are basically smaller versions of the video that you've shot that switches out in behind the scenes so that you can edit like the same timing and everything in Resolve, but with a video that's easier to play back. Okay. So for instance, you can have this footage or whatever, like this isn't that big of footage, but let's say that this footage is, 6K, 8K footage, right? And it's really hard for Resolve to deal with. You can use a proxy and you basically make a copy of this footage and you render out a small version that's really easy to play back. And then Resolve behind the scenes will switch that out and it will play back the small version, but then it will apply those edits and everything and switch it out to the big, pretty nice looking version before it renders. And so basically you can edit on a really junky laptop, your amazing red footage if you want to, using proxies. So there are limits to it and everything, but that's the basic idea. And proxies have been really difficult in the past, but now it's pretty amazing. Like if we go to media here and right click on a piece of media, you go down to generate proxy media, and it will automatically put the proxies on your system and link it to this and switch it out. It's amazing. One thing that I've ran into is if you don't set your proxy settings, it sometimes has an error. And so here in master settings, under our project settings, that's down here in this house thing, this house button, under master settings, if we go down a little bit where it says optimize media and render cache, here's what I do. Proxy media resolution, I usually set to half, set this to H.264. This render cache format, set this to DNxR HQ. And that's what I do. Okay. If you have a setting set, your proxies will go into this folder, whatever you tell it to put right here. Okay. But that setting is under Davinci Resolve, under Preferences, under Media Storage. Right here, what I always do is I put proxy subfolders in media file locations. So it's going to put a proxy folder next to your original footage, okay? Okay. And so what we do is we can select, I would normally just select all of them, but I'll just do one of these, right click and say generate proxy media, and it will render out that proxy media. And then look, it has this little icon here. And now I can scrub back and forth and it moves really, really easily, right? It's amazing. Whereas if I didn't have this proxy, this is actually really nice footage that'll probably play back great. Yeah, it plays back great. But generally, like, you couldn't do that. And it's like a problem when you edit, right? But if you have proxies enabled, then it plays back really smooth. So that's the idea behind proxies, okay? I hope that makes sense. Color boost equals saturation? No, it's different. So in color, let's go to color here. There's two settings here. There's color boost in the lower left, and there's saturation. What saturation does, we can see this on the scope here. I'll bring this up with the vector scope here. We'll just bring this up so everybody can see it. Okay, so this vector scope, this is a graph of the saturation of your pixels, right? And so here's what happens. When you boost up saturation, it boosts that whole thing. It scales everything, and it makes all the colors brighter, okay? What happens with color boost when you push that up, it doesn't make everything brighter. It makes the less bright things brighter. And when I say bright, I mean strong, like the color saturation. It makes the less saturated things more saturated. It controls that. It kind of has a curve on it, right? So if we make like, let's do it this way. So in this first node, if I saturate the junk out of this, right? And we'll just saturate this a bunch, okay? So it's just crazy. And then if I adjust color boost and I push this down, you see how it's like squishing? Like that cloud is kind of squishing as it goes down. It's like changing shape. Look how it changes shape. And the things towards the edge don't get affected much, but the things in the middle get affected a lot, okay? Color boost treats less saturated things and more saturated things differently. Whereas saturation, if I move this up and down, it doesn't really change the shape of that cloud. All it does is it uniformly changes the saturation. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. It's what you generally use color boost for is if you have a bunch of stuff that isn't as saturated as like a really bright thing, you can kind of bring it up and sort of equalize it. And so that's great for like if you have oversaturated skin tones or undersaturated skin tones, that's nice for that, right? Okay. Why does my footage look lower quality when I color grade when I shot it in high quality? It lowers the quality after I color grade. Or do you mean after you render? How do we change fast noise from fog to river, mist, heat wave, and fusion? It only seems to work in the edit page. Oh, there's like presets for them? I'm not even familiar with that. Not sure. I don't know. I don't think they have those presets in the fusion page. That's my short answer. Okay. What timeline speed to use with multiple recording speeds? I set to record at 120 at times and sometimes 60 and occasionally at 30. When you load the video into editing, you only get to pick one. Yes, you only have one speed for the timeline. You have one frame rate. Now, when you bring a clip into the timeline, what it's going to do is it's going to play it back at normal speed, and it's going to just decide what to do with the frames, right? So if you have a 30 frame timeline and you bring in a 60 frame footage and you aren't doing anything fancy, it's going to throw away half the frames and show you every other frame because it wants to show you it in the right timing. Okay. If you have a 60 frame timeline and you put in a 30 frame piece of footage, it's going to double them, right? It's going to show each frame twice. And that's just by default. There are other settings that you can do to like change that, but that's essentially what it's going to do by default. Okay. Can 17 work smoothly on i3 with 8 gigs of RAM? Probably not. Probably not very well. Probably not unless you're editing pretty easy stuff, like low resolution, easy to play back things. Like if you're rendering like 1080 ProRes files, it's probably okay. It depends. You'd have to try it out. Having this issue for weeks, why do my color scopes not allow me to bring stuff all the way up to 1023 or down to 0? Are you using color management, Cameron? Can you explain render in place? Does it render quality mean the final output quality? If you're going to render in place, then yes, it's the actual output quality. So like when you render something in place, right click, render in place, this is what it's actually going to be when you render. So you want to pick a really high quality thing. You want to pick at least the quality of your output, right? I would recommend something like DNX HD. You know, it depends on what you're doing, right? Do not DNX HD, DNX HR, right? I would do something like this, like HQX 10-bit. That's a pretty good bet for most things. Something like that. That's what I would pick. Chances are that's going to be great. Again, I mean, it depends on a lot of stuff, but if you just want a quick answer, that's the way to go. If you do like H.264 or something, it's going to look worse when you export it because it's recompressing that H.264. Okay. Can you adjust values using mouse scroll wheel, volume, zoom? No. That would be nice. What in the inspector you can, yeah, I really wish you could. I wish you could double click and like adjust it and like roll up and down. Oh, I would love that. But no, you can't. Original video quality versus timeline quality versus render quality. Okay, so so your original video. So let's see. This is let me think of a good way to explain this. So okay, so imagine you had a painting, right? and you were going to, and you made the painting, and you did it on a big piece of canvas, right? And you did everything you could to just be really detailed. You made this amazing painting, okay? And then you're like, all right, now what I'm gonna do is I wanna take a picture of it. And so you take a picture, and without a doubt, that picture will not be as good as the painting, because it is taking an image and it's only using whatever the resolution of that image of that picture is to represent that painting, okay? So that painting, if you look at it really close, is gonna have infinite quality. It's going, because it's real world stuff, right? The picture that you take of that painting is going to have just the quality of the picture. So if it's 3,000 pixels wide, it's only going to be 3,000 pixels of definition of all the different things that happen across the picture, okay? Then, if you take that picture and you print it out, which has its own things, but let's say you print it out, and let's say it's a perfect representation of that picture, okay? And then you scan it back in, or you take another picture of it, right? You take a picture of it with your phone, let's say, so you can upload it to Instagram. So if you're taking a picture of a painting, okay? So it's going to get worse every time, because it's kind of like a game of telephone, right? So if I say, you know, the president's here, and then after 5 or 6 people, it's the president was here, purple monkey dishwasher, then that's not as good, right? So that's a thing. So when it comes to your like beginning quality, you're only going to, like, you have the definition of stuff in real life. Let me find a decent picture here, okay? So my son, he looks way better in real life than he does on this video, okay? The camera only sees him at a certain quality, and that's why we always got to start with a good lens, with a good high quality camera if we want things to look good, okay? Because we're starting with the very best starting point, because everything else from there is going to be translated from that starting point, okay? Then, so that's like the capture, right? So this is the original quality. Then, when we bring it into our timeline has certain, like, it has a kind of a working space, right? So it has a certain amount of colors, it has a certain resolution that it's using, okay? The timeline, you can put anything on there, and it's going to kind of conform it to the size and everything that the timeline likes. So this footage, even if it's shot in 8K, if we bring it into a 1080p timeline, it's going to be 1080p. All right. So granted, an 8K start on a 1080p timeline is going to look way better than a 1080p start. Okay. But it's still like lowering the quality technically. Then when you export it, you're taking what lives in the timeline, which is a lower quality version of what you already had, which is a lower quality version of real life. And then you are making it worse again, because if I were to perfectly render this exactly how it looks in the timeline, the render would be huge. It would be astronomically big. Okay, it would be a couple hundred gigs probably, and nobody wants to upload that for people to look at. A lot of computers can't play it back. There's all kinds of terrible things that will happen if you do that. And so you have to make it into like an H.264, which is a very, very compressed format that throws away a ton of information and tries its best to smartly keep the information that you're going to notice, right? And so it will look pretty good, but it's not going to look as good as the original. So that's why you want to keep it high quality, high quality, high quality, high quality until the very end. And then you go, okay, now I'll take it lower quality, because you're starting with the very best starting point right before you go to lower quality, okay? That's a big explanation. So like when you render in place, this you generally want to keep a very, very high format. a high quality thing, because you don't want it to translate it again and again and again. DNxHR HQX 10-bit is great. Like you're probably never going to notice the difference if you render something in place like that. Is it better to render a 4K timeline in full HD instead of render a full HD timeline in full HD? For uploading to YouTube, yes, it is, Narain. It probably isn't that big a deal if you're not going to export it, if you're not going to transcode it again. Anytime you put something on YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, it transcodes it again, no matter what settings you use. So you want to give it the highest quality version you can, right? But like if you're just going to export an HD video, it's probably about the same unless you use some really specific scaling, unless you're doing some tricky stuff. In which case it's not, you know, it might be a little better, but it's going to be negligible, I would say. Can CST be before or after your grading nodes, and why? Should it be before or after your grading nodes, and why? I feel like there are mixed answers on this. Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about color space transforms, okay? So, when you're talking about color, here's the thing. When you're doing color management, this is kind of one of those big intimidating things, and including for me. It took me a long time to learn this stuff, okay? But when you're talking about color, you want to make sure that you are treating your colors well. You're being nice to them, let's say. And generally what happens, I'll just make some room here, is that when you shoot in a format like this, a log format, that comes in a certain color space with a certain gamma, okay? Color space is like how many colors are available, like what kind of giant bucket you're putting all the color data into. It's almost like the resolution for your colors, sort of. Whereas gamma is kind of how the brightnesses are treated, okay? That's a little bit oversimplified, but it's basically that. So with a log footage, you want to, your goal is to make this log footage look good on a screen. Right now, the log footage is it's designed to keep as much data as possible. It's a way to capture it. And it's just like we were talking about. It's trying to get the highest quality in the lowest amount of space. It's basically pushing a bunch of color data into the range that the camera can actually record. Okay? Okay. Does that make sense so far? So what we're doing is we end up with this kind of gray looking footage, and it doesn't look good on our screen, but it has a lot of data there that we can kind of pull out and play with. Basically, it's almost like if you're going to go camping and you set up the tent in the backyard to make sure it works, and then you kind of take the tent down and you pack it into the stuff sack or whatever so you can get it in your car. Okay, it's kind of compressed, sort of. Once it's compressed, then like, okay, so if you were going to take that tent out, you'd be like, I'm going to live in this. And you're like, I can't live in this little bag. That makes no sense. So you have to set it up first. So the entire idea of a color space transform or color management is taking this format that is designed to put a bunch of data into something and making it useful, making it actually look good. So when we're talking about the original question was, do I put a color space transform before or after my nodes? It's all confusing. How does that work? A color space transform is a way to unpack that data in a scientific way. Okay. And this is the same for color management. Any kind of color management, that's kind of the goal, is taking this gray footage and making it look good on your screen without just willy-nilly pushing around colors and making it look good to your eyes. It's to be scientific about it. Okay. So to do that, there's a few things. It kind of depends on what color space you want to be using is the first thing. So if you have a big color space, you can work in that color space and get really high quality stuff. If you have a small color space, then you might not want to work in that color space. You might want to work in a bigger color space, right? Think about if you had like a table. If you have a little tiny table, then you only have a little bit of space to work if you're like building something. But if you have a great big table, you have room to spread out, okay? So this footage right here, this is shot in S-Log3, which is a pretty big, it's not the biggest, but it's a pretty big table to lay things out in. It has a lot of different colors, it has a lot of information in it. And so it's reasonable to say, okay, I'm going to work in this color space. This is enough space for me to move stuff around and it will look good. So that means that I can do my color correction and everything on an image like this, and it will look good, okay? This is in contrast to something like Rec 709, which is a smaller color space. It's like a smaller table. It doesn't have enough room to move around. And so that's oftentimes what people will do is they'll take something that's a Rec 709 image or a sRGB image, and they'll basically put that small table thing onto a bigger table so that they have some room to work. It doesn't make it higher quality necessarily. Like it doesn't increase the quality of the original image, but it does give you some room to play around with it. Okay. So that would be a reason to use a color space transform before you color grade. Okay. So for instance, let's grab, let me show you. Let's just grab an image here. I'm just literally picking the first image I see, okay? From Unsplash. Okay. Oops, bloop. Come on. I'll just import this image real quick. Okay. So here I have an image, and this is an sRGB image. So what that means is that it's designed to look good. Like somebody's already taken this image and edited it and everything and made it look good on the screen. That's why when we're looking at it right now, it looks pretty good. It looks good, right? But what's happening is this is just a certain amount of colors that the screen can see. It's a little workspace. And so if I were to move the colors around a little bit, like I immediately get levels that are clipping. All right, levels that are just way too bright. Okay, and if I push this gain down, I immediately just start darkening the image. I don't have any more data. It's kind of set. Like I don't have anything that's like super dark that I can bring up the lift and get any more information. If I bring up this lift, it just gets gray. Okay, so a thing to do that, again, it doesn't make it higher quality, but a reason why somebody might use a CST before they do any color grading would be to put this into a bigger color space. So we can take this color space transform and input color space. We can say sRGB, input gamma sRGB, output color space. We can put that into a bigger color space, right? So for instance, we could put this into S-Log if we wanted to, like sgamut 3, S-Log right, S-Log 3. We could do that if we wanted to, because that's a bigger color space. It's reasonable to do that. I would say a lot of the time people would probably put it into Davinci wide gamut, right? Davinci wide gamut with Davinci intermediate, right? And so that's the same idea. It's just a really big color space. So where we can push things around and nothing's going to clip, nothing's going to get crazy. So at this point, we could take the gain and we can push this up or down. And again, it's not really going to make it a bigger, it's not going to make that specific image a higher quality, but it's going to act in a similar way as an image that was shot in a higher higher quality color space. Okay. So that's a reason you would use CST before. So you would do this, and then you would do your color grading after this. So this would be a CST. This would be to, you know, Davinci wide gamut. Okay. That's why you would do that. Literally just about any other time, you would put your CST at the very end. Okay. Why would we do that? Well, it's actually the same idea. Okay. The same idea of why we're converting this sRGB image into a bigger color space. That's the exact same reason why we don't put it in a smaller color space first. Okay. So if we're going to, if the goal is to have a big table and lots of things to play around with, a really dumb idea would be to put a color space transform on here that starts with slog, sgamut 3 and slog, right? Slog 3, and then bring that into something like Rec 709 to start out with. Because why would you do that? Like, if you want to color grade and you want a big playground to color grade in, there's no sense in making the playground really small before you go play. You want to play on a big playground, right? So that's why we do a CST at the end, is because if we want all this room to work with stuff, then we can work in stuff in this big space, and then at the very end we can say, and make it look good on the screen. Okay? So in this case, what we would do is we would have this color space slog 3 to Rec 709. We would have that at the very end. That's after our look, after our grain, after everything, basically. After everything. You could even put this on the group post clip or on the timeline or whatever, and you do your color grades in the clip before it, right? So that you can have lots of room to play around with your colors, and then at the end it just makes it look good on the screen. The other advantage of this is if you turn this off, this is a nice high quality big color space image that you can convert into whatever screen you want. So if you want to go into like P3, if you want to I don't know, use some other space, you can do that without having to redo a bunch of stuff. Okay, does that make sense for anybody who is confused about CSTs? And then just for the record, if you go into your settings here under color management and you switch color science to YRGB color managed, what this is doing essentially is it's putting a CST like thing at the very end of your chain. It's not doing it before, it's doing it at the end. Okay. You get it now. Awesome. That's what we want. That's what we want. Okay. All right, I know I spent a lot of time on that. We have time for probably a couple more questions. What are the burning questions, guys? When working color management and adding input color space in the media page, is that the same as having a CST at the end of the color node tree? Yes, yes, that is it. Now, I shied away from that for a long time because I thought it was going before. And that's one of the problems with not naming any names, but an app that people use a lot that has a certain panel that does color correction that a lot of people like, that is set up in a way that doesn't make sense. Because if you put on a LUT at the beginning, let's say at the top, it's going to adjust that. It's going to put that on before you do any color grading, which makes no sense. And I think that probably ruins a lot of stuff. So, okay. LTL King, which to choose? What are you talking about? Highway speeds up, and when I walk, it slows down. I'm not sure what you're asking. Can you restate it? It's like up in chat forever. You mentioned that you knew the problem with the 6K Pro and Kodak. Yes. Okay. So this is the problem. All right. So let me let me bring up, well, this will do the same thing. This isn't 6K footage, but it works exactly the same, okay? So we have this footage that's shot in log, okay? Pretend this is 6K footage. It works exactly the same way. What will happen is if you want to add a LUT like the Kodak LUT, right click, go to LUT, and under film looks, I assume you mean this film looks like Rec 709 Kodak 2383, like this LUT. Is that the one you're talking about? Is it possible to have to delete the cut page has on other pages, like when you delete, it automatically scrolls the footage? Yeah, if you hit the little delete key on your keyboard, it will do that in the edit page. Yep. If you hit backspace, it won't. Okay, so if that's the LUT, the reason for that is because this LUT expects a certain color space. Okay, so it expects a certain kind of image, and LUTs, in a way, LUTs are great tools, but they aren't smart. Like, I'm not saying you're not smart for using them. I'm just saying that a LUT has no idea the kind of image you're giving it. It just assumes that you are giving it a certain type of image. Okay, so what this LUT expects is a Cineon. Okay, so what we need to do is convert this to Cineon first for it to look good. So color space transform, input color space. You would pick Blackmagic, wide gamut, whatever you shot in, right? But this one is S-Log. It works the same way. Okay. But this output color space, this is going to be I believe Rec 709 Cineon film log. And when you do that, because you're giving this Kodak LUT what it wants, then it will make that look, and it will look pretty good. But you have to give it what it wants. It's like a toddler, right? It is not going to be happy unless it gets what it wants. Okay? Okay. Resolve film LUTs are designed in 1080p. I don't know if that really matters a whole lot, because the resolution is not... LUTs aren't dependent on resolution. They are dependent on what color space you're feeding it, right? So that's a thing. If it's the same question as before, but you missed the question, I know Davinci Resolve changes frame rate and makes you pick one, but which one do I choose? Oh, okay. I would pick the frame rate that you want your movie to look like, right? It depends on what you're doing. If you're doing like a game trailer, you might want to do 6DP, right? Because it looks like a video game. If you're doing a short film, you probably want to do like 24p. If you're doing a vlog for like for YouTube or something, 30p might be good because it's a little bit smoother, but it's not so smooth that it's weird like 60p is. It depends on your output. So what do you want your final movie to look like? That's what you pick, okay? There's not necessarily one is better or worse. It's just different, okay? Okay. How can I get a cinematic aspect ratio 16:9 at the beginning when I open the project settings? I haven't seen a way to do it. So when you go to your project settings right here, under master settings, this is what you want to change. It's timeline resolution. Okay. If you want to adjust, like make that like a 240 or something, you can scroll up to custom, which is hidden by default, which is very frustrating. But if you scroll up to custom, then you can type in whatever you want here. So like 1920 by 800 is 240. Okay, you do that, and then it will crop all of your footage. And depending on your scaling settings, so like if you go to your project settings and you go to image scaling, here under input scaling, mismatch resolution files, where it says scale entire image to fit, what that will do is it will squish it so you can see the whole image. What you probably want if you're going to do like a crop, like a 240 crop, is you probably want center crop with no resizing, or scale full frame with crop. Scale full frame with crop will scale it to the width, and it will give you a wide screen like this. Does that make sense? That stuff is really important. If repetitive rendering is bad, how do we get smooth playback without a low render for editing? You can use proxies, because no matter what the quality of the proxies are, even if they're terrible, you can switch them out. Like, it automatically doesn't use the proxy, and it uses the high quality stuff when you render. Okay, so you can make the proxy, 100 pixels wide as long as you can see it, and you can render it, and it will use the original media. So you're avoiding that, but you're using proxies in place when you edit. Okay. Somebody asked, is After Effects better than Fusion when it comes to motion graphics? A lot of people will argue yes. A lot of people will argue that. I think it depends on what you're doing. I think that you have plenty of really great controls in Fusion. I don't really see the big weirdness about it, but I really like Fusion, If you're used to using Photoshop, like After Effects makes a lot of sense, I wouldn't necessarily say it's better or worse. There are a lot more presets. There are a lot more templates and stuff. So for After Effects, so a lot of people like it for that reason. But Fusion is getting better, getting more of that stuff all the time. Is there any way to reduce proxy file sizes? Yeah. So here in your project settings, under Master Settings, you scroll down, Optimize Media and Render Cache. Here where it says Proxy Media Resolution, that's where I'd pick that. So you can do it like 1/16 if you want to, and it'll be really small files. Yeah. So it kind of depends on what you're doing, but that's how you do that. And the media format will also be a thing, right? So you can make proxies that are DNxH R444 original, but I mean, they're going to be big files, right? They're going to be really nice, but why? Like, unless you have something that's harder to play back than DNxHR, which DNxHR is pretty easy to play back, but still. But you could make, like, I would usually do half at H.264, and that's pretty reasonable. If you're running out of room doing half quality H.264, you need to get more hard drives, man. Like, you need to get more, like, video production takes a lot of space. Okay. Only once I heard someone, it's important to follow the order that you do the processes, but I can really understand how it affects the final product. Yeah. Let's give them like, hey, thanks. That's cool. My render videos look great on my computer, but then look terrible uploading to YouTube. Any tips? Yes, I have a video on that. It's called a render science. It's like the ultimate render settings for YouTube, something like that, where I explain all of that. Does the Text Plus feature beat a sharp PNG from Photoshop? I would say probably most of the time. Yeah, probably. As far as like sharpness, crispness goes, probably. If you're not scaling it, it probably doesn't matter. It's probably negligible. If you are going to scale it, it would beat it for sure. Okay. Is there a tool to align as in After Effects, for example, put a logo in PNG right in the center horizontally? Thank you. Yeah, yes. It kind of automatically does that. So like, okay. So if I had a logo, let's say we'll just use text. I brought up this text. This text by default is in the center, like the perfect center, right? And so it kind of automatically is in the center. If you go to center, it's 0.5, 0.5, right? So everything in Fusion is relative, to the resolution. It's resolution independent. That is what I mean. So like 0.5 across is going to be halfway. 0.5 down is going to be halfway, right? So like as far as a quick way to just align it, like click align, there might be a way to do that, but I always just reset it because it always ends up kind of in the center, you know? How to remove or clean up stuff in the sound library in the edit page. Honestly, I don't know. I've looked at that. I don't know if you can. I think it's dependent on your project library. And I don't know if you can remove stuff. Maybe you can, but I guess I've never tried, and there isn't an obvious place to do that. There's probably a way to like look into like the XML files or something, but I don't know. Does the second video card help with rendering faster in Resolve? It would in the paid version. The free version can only use one card. How to set the reference monitor in Fusion to view it not in linear. Yes, that's a big thing. Okay. So in Fusion, this is what I do. So whatever you're doing in linear, right? Which you usually do with like a color space transform or whatever. Generally what I'll do is before media out, I'll switch it back to some log format, right? So this I do like slog3 to linear, and then right before media out, I do linear to slog3 again. So it kind of puts it back. And then up here, you can use a LUT, right? So I could use like a Sony S-Gamut 3 to 709. And like that's going to give you a decent approximation of what it will look like if you were to render it, right? Or if you were to bring it into the color page and do your color space transform. That's a decent way to do it. Of course, this LUT, this isn't the export LUT. This isn't what it'll actually look like. It will look like this, but it kind of estimates what it'll look like when you color it, right? How do I animate a PSD design in Fusion? I designed an Affinity Designer. Can I animate different objects? Absolutely. You can animate everything. Yeah. Just like you would in After Effects. I honestly haven't really seen a whole lot that doesn't exist, like that exists in After Effects. There's like some certain specific things maybe, but like the general idea of like grabbing things, moving it around, animating things, like Fusion does that all day, you know? Can you track text in the color tab or use data for it to track text, or only in Fusion? That's really only in Fusion. Yeah, I would just use the Fusion tracker because you really don't have a lot of control. There's probably ways to do it in the color page, but just do it in Fusion. It's designed for that. How do we determine a Fusion composition's resolution? That's always based on the background of the composition. So the first node, basically, right? So this media in, this determines our resolution. Of course, they're not going to tell me, but you can see up here, it's 1920 by 1080. All right. One way that we can adjust that, you can do that in a couple different ways. Like if you had a big, like let's grab this, this still, right? This, if we bring it up in our second viewer here, this is 2400 by 1600. So that's going to be a much bigger resolution, right? So to crop this into making it 1080p, you can do that a couple different ways. One way to do it is you can merge this over a background node like this. And now if I hit 2, see it's kind of cropping it to 1920 by 1080. That's a way I've done it a lot. I have that in a lot of my videos. One thing I've started doing lately is just using a crop node. So you can shift spacebar, crop, and this will do the same thing. 1920 by 1080. But it's the composition is dependent on the background node that's attached to media out, right? It's like the first background node. So if we have this media in 1, which is our footage, and we merge that over media in 2, look what happens. Now we have the background, the size of our composition set at 2400 by 1600 because we're using this as the background, right? And so what you want to do is if you do want this in the background, but you don't want this to be 2400 by 1600, you got a crop node. And now it's 1920 by 1080. Crop will automatically set it to your your project settings, which are right here. I believe. Is that right? Actually, that might not be right. I think it sets it to 1920 by 1080. Maybe it's your timeline settings. I don't know. But for some reason, it defaults to 1920 by 1080. I don't remember exactly why. It's a good little tip. Dude, it's life changer for sure. For sure. Okay. Yes, the live will be available. Yep. You should do more of these. Hey, thank you. Can you please make a video tutorial on how to render videos once you're done editing, color grading, and whatnot? Yeah, I have a couple videos on that. A couple videos on rendering. Look them up. Is there a reason why you would use more compositing style tools like Surface Tracker in the color page as opposed to Fusion? No. Let me think on that for a second before just giving you a quick answer. Maybe if you're just not familiar with Fusion and you're really comfortable with the color page, if it's something quick, right? So like something I'll do in color a lot is like add a lens flare, because there's a really nice like plugin. Like I can add a lens flare to this like pretty easily in the color page, and I don't have to go into Fusion. I can just add that and I can see how it looks in color right before going into Fusion. So that would be a reason why, I would guess, is if it's something quick like that, right? But if you're gonna do something like more complicated than that, I would tend to go into Fusion, right? Like Surface Tracker is cool. I think at this point, I would just use Fusion. Okay. As your son knows, he's supposed to toast the mallows, not set them on fire. He does. We've had many explanations about this, and he just doesn't listen. He just does not listen. If I'm intimidated with Fusion, is there an easier way to add text to my timeline in the edit page? Yes. So in the edit page, you can go to Effects, and here under Titles, you can add text. You can even add the Text Plus, which is powered by Fusion. But yeah, that's a really easy way. You can just grab text and put it over here like this. Yeah. You can put that over, change your font, all that stuff. You can even animate. Can you? No, you can't quite. There's a gotcha here. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can animate the position here too. Which, if you're gonna animate a bunch of stuff, I would probably go into Fusion, honestly. But you can do something like add an effect to this. You can add a transition. You can even use the Magic Animate transition from our friend Mr. Alex Tech. That stuff is, so good. Dude's a genius. Dude is a genius. Why is the Surface Tracker in color page instead of Fusion? From what I understand, it's easier to build stuff for the color page, and they just haven't been able to build it for Fusion yet. I'm sure they're working on it. Have you done videos on trailer editing? No, not really. We could do that at some point. That'd be cool. That's a good idea. But no, I haven't really done that. Can you export thumbnail stills to a specific size, such as 2 megabyte limit for YouTube? No, I don't think you can do that. The only way that you could do that is probably in the deliver page. If you set it to... Yeah, it is not really a great way to do it, from what I know. Yeah. Like, you can have a really high quality JPEG from the color page, right? You can grab a still and export this, but it's just going to be like the highest quality JPEG, which might not be under that limit, which kind of sucks. So you might have to like open it up in Affinity or Photoshop or something. Yeah. Do you have any dedicated tutorials working on with keyframes in Fusion? I do. Yeah, I do. Trying to think what the, like, I've made so many tutorials. I'm like, I don't even know which one is which. But just for basics, and then we gotta go. Then we gotta go, guys. Anything you want to animate in Fusion works pretty much how it does in the rest of the app too. So if you select this, I'll move myself over here. Any node that you have selected, if you bring up the inspector, that's going to adjust the properties for that node. Okay. So I can type this text in, and then anything that we want to animate, we can just click on these keyframe diamonds, right? So at the beginning, if we want this to be up like this is going to be really jank, but we can do that. And then we can adjust this center right here. And then after 12 frames, let's say we want it to go down like this, whatever. Okay. That's going to animate in between those automatically now. If you want to adjust the animation, this is why I say to animate stuff in Fusion. If you want to adjust how that animates, because it just goes down and stops awkwardly, you can go to the spline panel right here, spline. And that's going to open up this panel, which is a graph of anything that you have animated. So I'll tick on this displacement here, and here we have a graph of this animation. What's cool about that is we can take these handles on these keyframes and we can adjust them to ease the animation. I can hit F on the keyboard to flatten that out like this. You can select those and just hit F. And now it starts slow and then speeds up and then slows down before it stops. So it eases those keyframes. You can do that in the edit page, but it's kind of janky. It doesn't always work all the time. I don't understand why, but that's the thing. So in the Fusion page, it's really nice because you have lots of control over exactly where things go and how fast they go and all that stuff, right? Okay. Suggestion on a reasonable capture card. I would look at, I mean, depends on what you mean is reasonable. It depends on what you want. If you're talking about a capture card for like your camera, the Blackmagic like mini recorders are great. If you're talking about like getting footage from like your Xbox, I would go with like an Elgato. Yeah, I would go with Elgato, probably. That's what I use. This is into a Elgato card. Thank you for taking the time to answer the questions. Thank you for the inspiration. Thanks for the weirdness. Hey, you're welcome. Okay, so guys, we gotta go. Thank you so much for everybody helping me out. Thank you for giving me some ideas and helping me kind of dive into what needs to be clarified, what we need help with. I will see you guys on Saturday. This is very exciting. We might even do a little stream setting up on Friday. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But guys, make sure to go and register for ResolveCon. That's resolvecon.com and RSVP. Okay? Let us know you're coming. We want to know. Thank you guys. You're the best. I will see you later. Bye.